Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rage, and we are back today with the highly anticipated breakdown of the Danger Room now that we have fully completed it with 10 days and 17 hours remaining at the time of recording. Now, guys, I'm not going to be, giving you guys some sugar fluff here and say that this event's easy and that you just have to go through some certain key tips and tricks here that you're going to be able to get this done, because at the end of the day, I still poured over, it must have been like eight plus hours into this game mode to figure out exactly how to decipher it and complete the difficulty 10, because if you guys are interested like myself as well, it's not about the leaderboards, right? Mind you, now that I've completed difficulty 10, to my surprise anyways, I'm ranking in the top 200 right now, which is a crazy surprise to me because of the fact that that just goes to show you the magnitude of how difficult this event has been and whether or not folks want to pour hours and time into it, because part of it is going to be having patience and grinding through certain specific points and modifiers that we need to take advantage of. And the other half of it is actually understanding how to defeat the mode, given some certain characters and combinations. And remember, it's all RNG based as well. So even with these tips and tricks that I provide for you, it may not work. At the end of the day, you might get stopped by a certain wave of enemies that just stop you. But what I'm hoping to share in this video anyways, and I do have the final gameplay footage of me taking down Xavier, are some key tips that helped me push through finally. And my goodness, it was a very rewarding moment. This, we've always argued that there's not enough hard content, and this has been a heavy favorite event for the last few weeks, but they definitely pushed this to the utmost here. I definitely feel like they need to dial this back down because of the way that, the X-Men Danger Room was quite a breeze, and this is just on the other side of things where we're spending a lot more time than we should be for this event. But it's a good learning lesson. But I hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully this is able to get you guys to the finish line as well. Same really for myself. And why you may want to consider doing all this, guys, is because at the end of the day here, what we were gunning for was the last and final milestones. And for me, the most enticing thing was these Armory 20 orb fragments, right? If you're able to get through difficulty 10 and finish all the way to milestone 12, it's going to give you 12 orbs, which I don't know. At the end of the day, does that justify the hours that you pour into it? That's a decision you have to make, because I think the highest I went to before difficulty 10 was like milestone 9, milestone 10, and not terrible. Like, the rewards aren't crazy sexy, but if you're just getting for that 3 diamond of the thing, as well as those Crimson Ore fragments, definitely something you want to consider. So, a very, very interesting event, because obviously it's featuring Fantastic Four, so you're thinking that Fantastic Four will probably have an edge. Well, it is and it isn't. I've definitely seen some folks already finish it with the Fantastic Four. It's intended for that, but the other part of it is the fact that we need to grind. You need to actually get some of these high danger token benefits that actually allow you, but I'll talk about some of the key ones, right? Obviously, if you guys have seen my past videos already, I've already pointed out that Blade is a very, very essential character for this game mode. He was really good in the Vigilante section, but he's also even better in this one because he has the Accursed Trace synergy. So you can see right here, number 2, Blade, Elsa, and Ghost Rider gaining the Accursed trait. They also, those characters also gain substantial stat increases, but to be honest, those two are useless. It's Blade that's going to be the main driver of how you're going to be able to finish this. The other side is if you actually have a strongly built Fantastic Four MCU team, and especially if you have access to Franklin Richards, then you don't need to rent the tokens, right? But I don't have that. I'm waiting for the unlock on Monday with my power cores. The big thing, guys, through all my experimentation, and we'll do a bit of gameplay so you guys can see as well, is the big one is at the very end here. There's a couple of these massive bonuses that you got to get your way towards, right? And how do you get these points? Well, you just have to grind, right? Every time you finish a node in difficulty 8, 9, or 10, it adds up, and that's what I've been doing, rinsing and repeating to build up some of these modifiers to see if I can gain that edge. And I've gotten to a point where it's pretty comfortable now, but even with all these stat increases, it's still strategy at the end of the day, at the very end, when you have to take down Xavier. Because remember, the final score doesn't actually get put into your rating until you finish and actually kill Xavier and the rest of his squad at the end there. But guys, so the key 2 teams are going to be respectively the Accursed team and as well as Fantastic Four. I didn't do it the Fantastic Four version, so I can only talk about the Accursed style, but you need to make sure that you're working your way top down, and these were the big ones for me. Gaining Crucible bonuses active allows the Accursed team, and we'll talk a little bit more about why that's so important. Also, the massive stat increases there with allies gaining 50% damage, armor, resistance, as well as focus across the board. I personally like the allies gaining additional speed. That was very, very helpful for myself. And then, as you guys can see here, contrary to what people believe, I don't think the exhaust is going to be a big factor. There's not actually a lot of Mephistos that you go through, so that one's kind of a waste for number 10, Caffeinated. In the previous Danger Rooms that we saw, it was useful, but not this time around. But the big one here for sure is if you're going the accursed route like myself, accursed allies gaining the 1 energy on kill. Absolutely massive, guys, because that's how they're going to be basically rinsing and repeating. That was one of the big shortfalls of them in the negative zone, was because they're not generating enough ability energy. Now, let me talk about the team, and you'll see them in combat as well, but the most important character, without a doubt, is going to be Blade. He just carries so much damage, and the funny thing is he's not even a accursed team member, right? He actually just gains that trait through the modifiers. And the good news is that most of us likely will already have Blade built up for Age of X progression, so he's going to be a huge investment, guys. I also have Mortal already because he's brought into my Cosmic Villain section, so that's why he's brought up, but he's just slotting in as another accursed team member. Is he required? I don't think so. I think another big one is Juggernaut if you do have him, but by far, without question, outside of Blade, the most important character is actually Hood. The reason you need to focus him, and as you can see right here, mine's level 1, so obviously I finished it without him, but I had to rent the character. And the reason he's so important, guys, is because of this, right? We forget about all these little details with these characters when we don't build a team, but he gains a boatload of benefits from Crucible. Enemies can only gain bonus damage and focus through positive effects. Hero enemies can only gain bonus resistance and speed through positive effects. That's already really good. Now, as you can see, the kicker here is if he has 3 or more accursed allies, which in this case you'll see in the gameplay, enemies cannot assist, and the speed of this character in each ally can only be reduced by slow. It goes beyond that. Enemies cannot gain speed up, enemies cannot gain taunt, and as well, if this character has 3 or more allies again, enemies cannot fill up speed bar except for themselves or allies. And then last but not least, even applying bleed to each attack target, and as well, they cannot gain charged up or offense. This is absolutely massive against enemy Odins, enemy Skrulls, Apocalypses, and whatnot because of this prevention, right? So that's why the Hood is the hidden tip and trick here for making sure that your team actually functions with the curse. Even if you brought in the accursed team members and you brought in like Helverine, Satana, they could provide value, but without question, Hood is what makes this team flow, and you need to make sure there's at least 3 other accursed team members on the team. But let me show you a little bit of introductory gameplay in the beginning of why this team is so good though, guys. So even if you don't have the Hood built up, for myself, when I was starting off anyways, right, I actually had Mortal and Blade. So the good news is I didn't have to rent these 2 characters, but you're going to need some sort of strong foundation because you can't just keep renting every single run, right? That's the other drawback too. So you got to be smart about some investments. You got to have some characters built up so you can actually run this. If you're in the mid game and you're trying to run this right now, it would be difficult to do it without some of these team members built up. And this is what I'm talking about. Just look how fast we can actually rip through this because of the fact that both any kind of accursed synergy, they're gaining ability energy every time they get a kill. So you can see how fast it is, and you can see what kind of powerhouse Blade is, right? As you're going through this, you want to make sure you're maximizing the mods on these characters to increase their damage as much as possible, because you really want to be killing things as fast as possible, so that way they can generate ability energy and rinsing and repeating. Defense down, offense up, just anything that you can add to this, right? And you quickly steamroll here. But again, this is an incomplete team until we get to a point where we actually have 2 more accursed team members. For my combinations anyways, like I said, I have the gameplay of me finishing off Xavier. The key thing is having maybe a tank like Juggernaut. And again, I didn't have him, so I had to rent him. And then Hood. You got to make sure you get Hood. If you don't have Hood, there's not really a point to going through all the way, right? So that's where I would, contemplate on whether or not you're doing a legitimate run. For example, even right now, a couple minutes in, we can see that we didn't even get access to that character right there. So that right off the bat may not be a good run already. We still have another try here as we keep continuing onward here to the second care package, right? And then you could take a look here. Maybe you get a chance to choose a character. We didn't, but when you get instances like this as well, guys, things like enemies cannot gain speed bar from abilities, well, that's not going to be important if you already have the Hood. So things like blind to enemies, that's a really big one in my opinion. Anyways, guys, that's how you're going to get through all the way to the very end. Now, let me talk to you about the final strategy here at the very end here with, I think Xavier is someone around here. When you get to Xavier, make sure you have at least 200 health packs. Health packs is cost of 50 per heal. The reason is because with the strategy of Xavier, it's very unlikely you're going to one-shot the node. And you need at least 4 of these accursed team members actually on the team alive when you're facing him for the second. So the strategy is this, right? And you'll see this in the gameplay again. For the first attack, you go in, you kill as many of the supporting cast as you can, and in the end with Xavier, typically surrounded by the Illuminati team. So you kill as many as you can, and then he's going to use his ultimate and special. He's going to destroy your team, and that's that. Then, using the 200 health packs, you go in and you heal your team back up, and that's when you would go in for the second attempt. So following my first attack, I was able to take down 3 or 4 of the enemies. As you can see here, that only left Xavier and then a fellow Hank Pym and Captain Britain. We're in a good spot. We actually were able to add in a character like Songbird, but again, she's not required. It's more important to have at least the 4 team members. So I go ahead. I would highly recommend finishing off a supporting cast member like Hank Pym, but you're going to get to a point where when you do solo Xavier here, this is why he's such a problematic target. He actually he utilizes your team against you for the assisted attacks, and he always targets the ally that you have on the lowest HP. So you can see here, we're just trying to basically attack him, but you have to also make sure you're not using any specials or ultimates on Xavier unless it's meant to kill him and finish him off, because he also gains barrier on the ability. So that's why you'll see here when I'm attacking Xavier, I'm actually just using my basic abilities, right? That's why it's very, very important, guys. And then when you get to the end there, if there is another surrounding member like Captain Britain, that's fine. But again, the very key thing here, guys, is making sure you have at least 4 accursed team members at the very end, and making sure step 2 that you're ready for a sack attempt, because to one-shot Xavier all at the beginning with all the Illuminati characters plus their cruise bonuses, very, very unlikely. The 200 health packs gives you that second edge, and it gives you that chance there to actually thrive for going into cleanup. And that's how we were able to get it done, guys. So do let me know what you think, comments below. Do let me know if this is actually going to help you guys push forward now that we kind of know the answer. And again, there's a version of this Fantastic Four, but I don't want to speak on something I haven't tried because I just don't have access to use them yet. So hope this helps, guys. Let me know what you think, comments below. Thank you for your time as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.